And welcome back to the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us on a Tuesday evening, starting a little bit earlier today. A little bit of news around the world of baseball today is that confusing my names all of a sudden. Jose Altuve, 5 years, $125 million to stay a member of the Houston Astros. This effectively will make him a career-long Houston Astros player, likely taking him through the twilight years of his career, maybe a couple of years thereafter. He'll need another contract for it. But this one basically assures that the one guy that was a part of all those tough years in Houston before they became a good team, the guy that was there throughout the entirety of those good years, will now retire a member of the Astros more than likely. So, good move here by Houston. They have a whole bunch of free agents here in the next couple of years that they're going to have to sort out. I worried about the contract that Josh Hader signed, 5 years, $95 million, might preclude them from bringing back guys like this on their roster. Now, Altuve is a little bit different than the other guys on their team right now that are heading towards free agency. You look at Justin Verlander, Valdez, Bregman, Alvarez, among others, Tucker even. Not all of those guys are going to stay members of that Houston Astros team. They're probably going to decide, hey, this guy is out of our price range, just like they did with Carlos Correa, just like they did with Justin Verlander, just like they did with Garrett Cole, just like they did with George Springer. Yet they're still a very good, high-quality team. The question is, can they continue to develop talent like they have in the past? That was back when they had, a really high-ranking farm system. Right now, they gave away two of their top pieces in that farm system just to bring back Justin Verlander and for the Mets to eat the majority of that salary that he had left on his deal. So, do they have, 2, 3, 4 more years of contention? Remains to be seen. I know they'll still be around in the AL West this year. I still would put them in the conversation for teams that could win the World Series this coming season. But after that, it gets real dicey real fast for them. They already have Ryan Presley on the roster right now as their closer. Now they have a two-headed monster back there with Josh Hader. If Presley leaves in free agency, now they have at least a fallback option in Josh Hader. That's a pretty nice fallback option, by the way. But we'll start there with the Houston Astros. Good move there by Jim Crane. Honestly, I'm a little bit shocked that they were able to get the deal done. A little bit surprised that it wasn't for more money. And I think that's part of why the deal got done and why Jim Crane was willing to give that type of money for Jose Altuve, is because it wasn't that $30+ million salary. He's still getting, some of the best money any second baseman has ever gotten in the history of the game. He becomes the first player ever in Major League Baseball history as a second baseman to accumulate more than $300 million in salary since joining a Major League team. So, fantastic deal for Altuve here. As I mentioned, great deal for the team as well, but the issue for them is what's going to happen in the years to come with all those free agents to be. I have questions about whether or not they'll be able to bring back Bregman, or even if they want to bring back Bregman. I have questions about their desire to bring back Yordan Alvarez, a one-tool player as far as a hitter first and foremost, has the power, all those kinds of things, hits for contact, but he doesn't play the field, he doesn't give you defense, base running, and he's kind of slow, plods on the base pads. I know people would like to tell you in the postseason, look at him get around. Well, he's a big guy. He has to get from point A to point B somehow. He's not exactly burning it up out there like Mookie Betts or Ronald Acuna, but he can get around a little bit. But you look at the biggest tool he has is that bat, and I'm not sure Jim Crane is going to back up the Brinks truck for a guy who's only an offense-type player. Now, as far as Framber Valdez, I think they will try to do everything they can to retain his services. I just question whether or not they'll be able to sign him with all the other teams that need starting pitching. We saw the need for starting pitching in the game this offseason, how the name of the game has kind of changed from the bullpenning ways that it was for the last couple of years to now people are starting to value the starting pitcher a little bit more once again. And it's a nice reminder that baseball, through ups and downs, peaks and valleys, one thing's going great for 1 year, another thing's going great another year, that we still come back to the basics of the game, that you got to be able to pitch, you got to be able to hit, you got to be able to score runs, and you got to be able to close out the game. Basics of the game, got to be able to run those bases, play some solid fundamental defense, and if you're not doing those types of things, you're not going to be a winning baseball team. So we'll see what ultimately happens with Framber Valdez. I'm curious to see what happens with him as far as if Jim Crane's going to back up a Brinks truck for him, or if he leaves in free agency like a Garrett Cole, if he's willing to pay that $30+ million freight for Framber Valdez. So keep your eyes peeled. Stay tuned for what happens there in Houston. The other bit of news is that the Los Angeles Dodgers are bringing back Clayton Kershaw. He is going to be out until at least after the All-Star break, more than likely until after the trade deadline. But he does give the Dodgers the security they need once they get to August and September of knowing he will be there. Now, there could always be a setback. Maybe he doesn't pitch at all this coming season, but we know he's going to be out for at least the first 3, maybe 4 months of the season as he recovers from surgery, and we'll see how effective he is when he comes back. But this was a very top-heavy team in that starting rotation that's already going to be without Shohei Ohtani as a pitcher this coming season. They brought in Tyler Glass now. They bring in Yamamoto. They still have Buehler, who's going to be coming back from injury. They have a whole bunch of other starters that are on the periphery of that team, but nobody who's really a bona fide starter in that rotation right now. Miller had a nice performance for them last year, but we saw how he struggled in the end. But I still wouldn't be surprised if they added one more starter either now in the offseason, while we're about a week away from spring training, by the way, during spring training or once we get to the trade deadline. So that's still the one deficient area I see on this roster for sure, is at the back end of that rotation. And as far as being able to eat innings during a game, during the season, they need to be able to get outs when they don't have Glass now on the mound, when they don't have Yamamoto on the mound. And if Yamamoto struggles in his first season coming over, wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, he has to get acclimated to the speed of the game here in the U.S. That usually takes a little bit of time. Senga was fantastic last year, but he's kind of the exception, not the rule, to the success that foreign players have when they come over. Usually it's in year 2, year 3, as they get more settled with the American game. But, we'll see how Yamamoto adjusts. The eggs are certainly all in the basket right now for the Dodgers. They are committing to win in every single possible way they can. I still think they have some holes in that lineup that need to be addressed. I don't think they necessarily need to do it here before the season. I do think they could get to the trade deadline, see what holes they actually have, maybe bring in another bat here, during spring training as we get closer to the season. But I think they're going to do some more shopping at the deadline. They are certainly selling out to try to win. Shohei Ohtani kind of made that very apparent with his decision as to where he wanted to go, deferring so much of that money to be able to bring in multiple talented pieces to help them win a championship. He came over to the States with the goal of being the best in all of baseball in anywhere of any part of the world, and he was already that in Japan. He comes over to the U.S., quickly becomes one of the best players in Major League Baseball history in just his first season. He's been absolutely dominant as a pitcher. He's been a great hitter. He very well could win the Triple Crown as a hitter this year. Now that he's going to be focusing solely on that craft this season, we might see one of the few hitting seasons that we have ever seen in Major League history. You think that season Aaron Judge had a couple years ago was fantastic, that won him the MVP? We might see something even more extraordinary from Shohei Ohtani this year. He's a plus base runner as well. The injury that he had isn't going to keep him from that as well. So keep your eyes peeled for what the Dodgers do and how impactful, what type of impactful moves they're going to make at either before the season to address the holes on their roster or at the deadline. But Clayton Kershaw goes back to the Dodgers, giving them some depth for after the trade deadline. So good move for them. Not too much other news outside of that. The one bit of news, baseball news, that kind of made its rounds on social media today was the Las Vegas mayor coming out in support of the Oakland A's staying in Oakland. I mean, this story is starting to get crazy, and I wonder if this thing, starts to take on a life of its own. I understand it's just a mayor, and she doesn't exactly, able to unilaterally turn this thing back. And I know there's all kinds of money already delved into this thing. They're trying to put the location where the Tropicana is in Las Vegas. That property is needing to be changed, I'll put it that way. But there are some arguments that maybe they should have put it down by the Wynn. There's also arguments about whether or not they should have just had an expansion team, promoted a AAA team, whether or not they should have just said the heck with it and just left the A's in Oakland or let the A's go somewhere else. But it sounds like public sentiment for a while now has been on the side of Oakland A's staying in Oakland. And if they do that at this point, I mean, that ownership group is going to be absolutely hard-pressed to be able to find a buyer for that team that would give them the value that they are hoping to get out of it if they decide to sell, which all the fan base seems to want them to do right now. If for some reason they say, we're not going to sell the team, we decided against Vegas, you think the fans are going to sit there and clap and applaud and say, yeah, that's what I wanted to see happen? Go owners! That's not going to happen. So best case scenario, if the Vegas thing ends up imploding, they may be able to get the city to finally give them a new stadium deal after they saw the community outpouring of support for that team once the move was announced. It's already been unanimously approved by the Board of Governors for Major League Baseball. All the other owners have already agreed to it. It's going to be a matter of them ultimately deciding to not do this deal. And I don't think there's anything that's going to stop it from happening. I know the teachers union out in Las Vegas basically sued the move anyway, the government there, for allowing the laws to be changed to allow the stadium to be built where it's at. There's all kinds of machinations that you might want to dig into about that. But even when the teachers union is coming out against your baseball team, you start going, what the heck are they doing having any voice in this conversation? Then you start picking up on all the other voices that are around the Oakland A's, the Las Vegas A's, whatever they want to call themselves, as far as how this move is being done, where they're going, everything that was done to be able to get them to go to Las Vegas. And it might just be too pricey for them to make the move. And how much support are they going to have when they get there? I think Vegas is really going to support that team. I think that Vegas absolutely wants to have a Major League Baseball team. It's just a matter of, could it be better if they had their own team, if they promoted a minor league team, or if they just said the heck with it, wait a year, and then have an expansion team of their own. So we shall see. Welcome in, Hank. Appreciate you for joining us. Salt Lake City A's. That could be one team, but Salt Lake has already got a good minor league foundation there. I'm not necessarily saying that team would move. I think there's actually a minor league team, if I'm not mistaken, in Las Vegas already. But promoting a team like that or getting an expansion team would be what I would do if I was Major League Baseball. There's so many good baseball markets out there. We're going to see significant expansion in quite a few sports over the next 10 years or so. You look at hockey, they're looking at expansion right now. The NBA is probably going to be expanding here in the next 10 years. The NFL has looked quite a bit now at expanding, and Major League Baseball, you got the Nashville contingent looking to get their team done. There's a lot of options out there for expansion around Major League Baseball. Did they have to move Oakland in order to get a team in Vegas? I don't think so. But that stadium situation in Oakland is absolutely atrocious. I mean, how many seasons do we have to see the game, or at least the road crew that's doing the visiting broadcast, point out that there's raw sewage on the ground at the Oakland Coliseum, and they've closed off multiple sections of the stands because raw sewage is seeping out in the outfield, or seeping out in the stands and the bleachers in the outfield. There's multiple photos of that online if you guys want to check that one out. It's absolutely disgusting. And the fact that they've had to deal with this problem not just for 1 year, not just for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. This has been an ongoing problem for darn near a decade at this point. Just the raw sewage situation alone, that's disgusting. And they need to get that addressed. Now, the fans really showed out for the team this year. When the move was announced, saying all this stuff as far as sell the team, or we love our A's. Well, if I'm the ownership group there in Oakland, where were you guys when the team has been struggling? Sure, the last couple of years, the last several years, really. I understand the product on the field hasn't been great, but you show out for the team that was one of the worst in Major League Baseball history this year just because we announced we're moving. Come on, guys. Where's the love? You guys want us to stay. We have no incentive to stay from the city. They don't want to help us out as far as the stadium. There's no incentive because you guys aren't buying tickets to come to the game. And the stadium that we play in is an absolute disgusting eyesore that every single team in Major League Baseball dreads coming to because of how disgusting and old and outdated and, well, not taken care of the stadium has become. So you made your bed, Oakland. At what point are you going to say, hey, we realize we weren't great? You guys deciding to move the team as a result of those things, also not great. And or at least we understand why you're making or why you considered the move, but we don't understand why you accepted the move to Vegas when you have this outpouring of support, those types of things, and why couldn't we get a deal done for a stadium? Those are the bigger questions for Oakland and tougher questions for Rob Manfred to answer now that we've started to see more public sentiment coming out, now coming from the Las Vegas side of things, from the Las Vegas mayor, not just the Oakland side. So that's their news from around Major League Baseball. Still got Blake Snell out there from a starting pitching standpoint. You have Jordan Montgomery. We should be getting some resolution more than likely on Jordan Montgomery within the next, I would say, week. Remember the Bally Sports or Diamond Sports Group TV deal. That deal is supposed to be resolved on the 9th, either approved or denied by the bankruptcy judge for the TV company, broadcasting company. If that deal is approved, Texas will be able to get $90 million of the $110 million they were supposed to be getting out of their deal. $20 million discount, and we'll have to see what happens after this year. But that would really give the Texas Rangers some idea as to what they can do financially. Even if it's a really big, high AAV for one season, I don't think that would get it done. But that would be something at least Jordan Montgomery could take to his some type of solace if he decides to do that, and he really wants to stay in Texas. If the money is that good and they're able to work things out long term with a different TV company, maybe they say, hey, Jordan Montgomery, we got $90 million this year. We'll probably keep your AAV high this year, but we'll give you lower AAVs after this because we're not sure about our TV deal after 2024. If things work out, we'll give you an incentive-laden deal, all those kinds of things. Maybe that's something that works out for Texas, but if the deal ultimately is rejected, I think Jordan Montgomery ultimately goes elsewhere. I know the Texas Rangers beat writers, notably Evan Grant, keeps saying that it's very unlikely that Jordan Montgomery stays in Texas. I understand the fan base absolutely wants him to stay there, but they've really done a great job of building up their options as far as starting pitchers. They're going to be a little lean in the beginning of the season. They're going to have some issues around the trade deadline as well, because you say you're going to have these three guys coming back from injury, but how many times have we seen, this starting pitcher's got a step back, or this guy re-aggravated the injury and ultimately won't be coming back? I still think bringing in Jordan Montgomery would be a great piece for them. But as it stands right now, they have 5 starters with Bradford in there at the number 5 spot. But they could use some minor league depth to kind of supplement this group if they don't sign Jordan Montgomery. That's what we saw with the minor league signing of Danny Duffy, who is a close friend of GM Chris Young. He spent the entire season last year in the minors. Looked like he might be a September call-up for the Rangers as the team was struggling with their starting rotation in September. Ultimately was not called up. And I wonder if Danny Duffy makes it onto the big club out of spring training with all the guys going on the IL to start the season. And if they have an injury in spring training to, say, Nathan Eovaldi, or they have another injury to John Gray, then they could probably call up Danny Duffy, have some 40-man issues, those kinds of things that they're going to have to, work around. But the Rangers have some options anyway. If they get that TV deal approved, then they'll probably bring back Jordan Montgomery and kind of go from there. But if he doesn't get that TV deal approved, if the bankruptcy judge says, no, I don't approve of this $90 million solution to a $110 million contract, then that deal is going to be thrown out. Texas probably goes back to the drawing board, going back to what they were originally going to do, saving some money and bringing in some minor league signings with spring training invites. And then Jordan Montgomery is going to be fair game to pretty much all the other teams out there. In which case, I think the Giants should absolutely try to get in there for him. The Red Sox need somebody to start for them. I think the Yankees are one of the teams that's kicked the tires multiple times on Jordan Montgomery. They had him in the past. Montgomery really doesn't want to go back there because of how he was handled in his first go-round with the Yankees. Ultimately, I think the Yankees have probably learned a little bit from that, and they'll probably trust Jordan Montgomery than they ever have at any point beforehand. So, we'll see what happens here as we get closer to spring training, but make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to join us tomorrow for our MLB Hot Stove Daily live that we'll do for you guys. And remember, NBA trade deadline is on Thursday. We'll be live for you guys again tomorrow, breaking down all the latest from the NBA trade deadline, what's going on around the league, and hopefully we start to get some trades tonight. We'll post some videos tomorrow about those as well. And if there is a big-time trade, we'll break in live for you guys as well. So make sure you turn on your notifications. Follow us over on X at UpsideSN, on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. Appreciate you guys joining us. We'll see you guys again tomorrow night. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Appreciate all of those of you who have joined us over the last couple of days. It's been nice seeing those numbers jump up. So thank you for the support. Y'all have a great evening.